Genesis gives you 50 chapters of creation, but there is another version of the exact same story, one that fills every single gap, names every demon, and contains a precise countdown to the end of this age. A version that the Dead Sea Scrolls community treated as Holy Scripture, that the earliest churches read alongside Genesis, that Jesus himself may have known and quoted. It was deliberately removed from the Western Bible in the 4th century. Ethiopia kept it. And what it reveals about the calendar, the fallen angels, and the final days is unlike anything you've been told. The Book of Jubilees is not just another ancient text. It is Genesis retold from the mouth of an angel. On Mount Sinai, God speaks directly to Moses. Not only the 10 Commandments, but the complete history of creation, from beginning to end, through the angel of the presence. In this narration, Moses learns details Genesis never mentions. The exact names of Adam and Eve's daughters, the true reason for the flood, the names and assignments of the demons that survived, and most critically, the exact calendar God ordained for humanity, a 364-day solar calendar. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has preserved this book as sacred scripture for over 2,000 years. In the West, it was completely lost until 1773, when Scottish explorer James Bruce brought 3 copies out of the Ethiopian highlands. 3 copies from Ethiopia.
3 copies from Ethiopia. That is the only reason the Western world even knows this book still exists. Let's go directly to what the Book of Jubilees reveals that Genesis leaves in silence. First, the names. Genesis says Cain went to the land of Nod and found a wife. Jubilees answers without hesitation. Her name was Awan, and she was Cain's own sister. Early humanity had no other choice but to multiply from within the same family, and according to Jubilees, God permitted it for a specific period of time. Second, the true cause of the flood. It was not just general wickedness. The Book of Jubilees is very clear. The Watchers descended, took human wives, and produced giant offspring called the Nephilim. They corrupted human bloodlines and taught forbidden knowledge. This genetic and spiritual contamination is presented as the primary reason God sent the flood.
Third, and most disturbing, the demons. After the waters receded, Noah discovers that the spirits of the slain Nephilim did not die with their physical bodies. They became disembodied entities roaming the earth. Their leader, a powerful spirit named Mastema, approaches God with a direct request. Allow me to keep 1/10 of these spirits so I can continue to test and rule over humanity. God grants his request. The Book of Jubilees identifies Mastema as the entity behind many events traditionally attributed only to Satan, including the testing of Abraham and the hardening of Pharaoh's heart. But the most important revelation in the entire book is this: the calendar. The Book of Jubilees insists that God gave humanity a perfect 364-day solar calendar, exactly 52 weeks of 7 days each. The year divides cleanly into 4 seasons of 13 weeks. No need for extra days, no dependence on the moon. According to Jubilees, when humanity abandoned this divine calendar and began following lunar calendars instead, everything fell out of alignment with heaven. Festivals fell on wrong days, prayers arrived at the wrong times, and much of the religious confusion we see in the world today traces back to this single departure from God's ordained time. Even today, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church still follows a version of this ancient calendar. Right now, according to their reckoning, it is the year 2017. Right now, according to their reckoning, it is the year 2017. In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd threw a stone into a cave near the Dead Sea and changed biblical scholarship forever. Inside were the Dead Sea Scrolls, the oldest known manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible, hidden by a Jewish sect called the Essenes around 100 BC. When scholars cataloged the scrolls, they found fragments of dozens of texts. Among them, extensively copied in multiple copies, was the Book of Jubilees. The Essenes did not treat Jubilees as a curiosity or a secondary book. They used its 364-day solar calendar as their official liturgical calendar. They organized their entire religious year around it. Jubilees was, for them, authoritative scripture alongside Genesis. This means that at the same time Jesus of Nazareth was walking the earth, there was a major Jewish community in Israel reading the Book of Jubilees daily. They followed its calendar, named their demons Mastema and Belial, and believed its timeline of history was counting down in real time. Serious scholars have noted strong parallels between several of Jesus' teachings and specific passages in Jubilees, especially his emphasis on the true meaning of the Sabbath, his language about demons and their master, and the framework of cosmic weeks and restoration. If Jesus was familiar with this text, and the evidence strongly suggests he was, then removing Jubilees from the Bible doesn't erase its influence. It only removes the full context for understanding what he was actually saying. That context was never lost in Ethiopia. Part 4. That context was never lost in Ethiopia. Now we come to the section that is making many biblical scholars intensely uncomfortable in 2025 and 2026. The Book of Jubilees structures all of human history in precise Jubilee cycles. One Jubilee equals 49 years, 7 weeks of 7 years each. The book then groups these Jubilees into larger epochs called weeks of years. When scholars run the internal numbers, from Adam through the flood, the Tower of Babel, the call of Abraham, all the way forward, the timeline of Jubilees places our current era at the threshold of the final Jubilee epoch before the Age of Restoration. The text is not vague. It gives exact years for major events and creates an internal clock that runs across the entire history of humanity. According to this ancient map, we are standing in the closing period of the present age. The Book of Jubilees describes the final days this way. And in those days the children shall begin to study the laws, and to seek the commandments, and to return to the path of righteousness. And the days shall begin to grow many and increase amongst those children of men, till their days draw nigh to 1,000 years. A coming age of long life, a return to the original laws, the restoration of the perfect calendar, the reordering of creation. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church does not read Jubilees like a newspaper predicting exact dates. They read it as God's authoritative map of His intentions across time. There is a difference. But the fact remains, this 2,000-year-old text, confirmed by the Dead Sea Scrolls, preserved in Ethiopian monasteries, mathematically positions the present generation at the edge of the final chapter. But the fact remains, this 2,000-year-old text positions the present generation at the edge of the final chapter. The question everyone eventually asks is, why was Jubilees removed? The honest answer is that we don't know the full story, but we can reason from what happened. Accepting the Book of Jubilees as scripture would have forced the Roman Church to admit that their entire liturgical calendar was out of alignment with the divine order described in the text. It would have meant changing festivals, feast days, and the entire rhythm of worship. It also names the demonic realm with dangerous precision, Mastema and his hierarchy, their strategy, their legal right to test humanity. That level of detail made many uncomfortable. Ethiopia never faced this problem. The Ethiopian Church was never under Roman authority. They did not attend the Council of Nicea in 325 AD or the Council of Laodicea in 364 AD. They were not bound by those decisions. So Ethiopia kept Jubilees. They kept Enoch. They kept the full 81-book canon. Monk by monk, generation by generation, in mountain monasteries reachable only by rope and basket, they guarded these texts with intention. Not by accident, by deliberate preservation. They knew something the rest of the world chose to forget.